We're going to keep rolling with the hockey talk today because it is late October after all. And we don't talk a lot of Minnesota Wild. Jessi Pierce joins us from the Minnesota Hockey Journal, NHL.com, where she covers the Wild and the Bar Down Beauties podcast. And it looks like they had a beauty last night in St. Paul. Unless you're a Wild fan, our good friend Connor Ingram won his first NHL start. The Predators beat the Wild 5-2. Roman Josi had a 4-point game. First of all, Jessi, welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show. How's your day going?
Thank you. It's good. How about yours? I love the setup you got going here. I'm excited to be a part of this.
Oh, yeah. This is nice to be home. We've been on the road for most of the fall, so it's nice to be back here in the bunker and doing what we do. Hey, it was the first Wild loss of the season last night against Nashville. How did the Preds pull it off, and how's it going over with the mini fans?
I mean, obviously, they hit the panic button. You know, you're 5 games into the season. I think people thought that they were going to go 82-0. I'm not quite sure what the huge concern is. I mean, Minnesota just simply came out flat. I mean, there was no excuse for that either. Nashville had played, as you guys very well know, the night before up in your fair city, as had Minnesota played the night before. So there was no excuse for Minnesota to come out as flat as they did. And then lazy penalties. We saw, I think, 3 tripping penalties. Nashville got out to an early 3-0 start courtesy of 2 power play goals. So really, nothing was really clicking for the Minnesota Wild. I mean, their fourth line, their best line, which is nice to see, but that's also when the other lines are also contributing. So, I mean, really, it was just kind of a sloppy game, something that they're going to really need to wash down the drain as they hit the road this week and start up in Vancouver on Tuesday.
Was the start unexpected? Really, it was by me to go 4-0 with because they made a decided decision to go away from Suter and Parise and go in a different direction, and yet they continued to win. It looked like they didn't even need them.
I mean, a little bit, right? I think it is. It's a new team. It's a young team, and it's not a full-on rebuild, but it's definitely a reset, a refresh. So you have guys that are coming in. Brandon Duhaime is a new face that's getting a call up from the Iowa Wild of the AHL, getting a look. But you also still have some very familiar guys that were around last year. I think the biggest difference between the Parise-Suter era, not only is the speed and the youthfulness there, but there's just a different vibe in the locker room, which I think has really attributed a lot to the Minnesota Wild success right now and moving forward. But I was a little shocked to see a 4-0, especially when you're allowing the first goal in all 5 of these games to come from behind. You're playing with fire and a little bit of puck luck to get to that quick undefeated start. But now I think that loss will kind of put them back into shake their nerves a little bit and say, all right, let's go, let's play our game and let's not rely on so much puck luck like they had in the beginning.
Jessi, did you ever doubt in August and September that Kirill Kaprizov would sign and play with the Wild this year? Because it was looking dicey there for a while. What was your read on that whole situation?
I mean, it was hard to picture him not coming back, right? It was very weird, despite how far apart the camps seemed at some point in times. Bill Guerin had said, you know what, we're not going to settle for less than 5, and it didn't sound like Kirill Kaprizov's camp wanted more than 2 or 3. So there was a slight concern, but also, what else is he going to do? He wants to play in the best league, and he knows the NHL is the best. He wasn't going to sit out. And he obviously had missed the deadline to play with the KHL. So, I mean, you always have that little kind of wince because this is Minnesota we're talking about. If you guys aren't aware, Minnesota sports fans are very used to being let down, and they always joke that they can't have nice things. This would have fed into that storyline perfectly. But ultimately, I figured they would come to terms and he would make it. I'm a little surprised that they got it done kind of as quickly. He didn't miss too much of camp, which was nice. And that was forward thinking on him and his agent's part by getting him over here ahead of time and vaccinated, which also shows that they were planning to sign as well.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel that he's played here in these opening 5 games?
He's getting a lot of flack for that as well, right? He has no goals. He's got 3 assists, and he's a superstar. He is getting paid bona fide superstar money now with this new deal. And if you want to be a superstar, you have to play like a superstar night in and night out. So it's a little bit frustrating, but I think you can feel that he's putting that pressure on himself as well. He's gripping that stick just too tight. I mean, head coach Dean Evson said it best in last night's postgame is that he just needs to go back and simplify. I mean, they didn't have the accurate stats, I don't believe, because I think they only credited him with like 2 turnovers last night. And I think I saw more like 4 or 5 turnovers by Kirill Kaprizov. And again, that's because he's trying to get too fancy with it sometimes and trying to take it all on. So, I mean, I think there's room for more improvement. I do want to, cut him a little bit of slack. We've got 60 games with him, right? So he still is young. He's still growing, but he's going to have to learn. It's not going to get any easier down the road. He's going to see some of the best this year, too. I mean, not the Anaheims and the LAs and the teams that Minnesota saw last year. So he's going to really have to elevate his game to prove that he is the superstar that everyone indeed has made him out to be.
Jessi Pierce with us from Minnesota Hockey Journal, NHL.com, and Bar Down Beauties podcast. The Wild now go on the road for a few. They're in Vancouver. I think it's tomorrow, then Seattle after that. What do you expect out of this road trip for the Wild?
I mean, they're going to have to score first. I think that's the biggest thing. Come out on fire and get that first goal finally. Take that monkey off your back and say, hey, we can do this. I think that's been a huge problem. Not that they were playing cocky or arrogant by any means when they were down, but I think they got a little too comfortable in saying, hey, we can let the opposition go up and we know that we can come back and mount that comeback in the third period. But that's not sustainable, right? You need to go out, you need to score that first goal. And I think you really want a good bounce back win in Vancouver to really start this road trip off on the right foot. Get Cam Talbot feeling good. He's been okay, but he's been a little shaky as of late. So I think get that going. And naturally, I think if Kirill Kaprizov can get a goal or 2 or 3 or 4, that's going to just absolutely skyrocket him and his line and their confidence.
Please, Jessi, do me a favor. One thing that we do here is not just talk about the games themselves, but about the personalities. What's your background in the game of hockey that's led to you, I would suggest, with a dream job covering the Wild for these entities I just mentioned?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually never played hockey. I was a basketball player, but my parents both were huge, huge hockey fans. And I just kind of fell in love with the game. I mean, very much like Canada, Minnesota, it's all around us. And once you watch a hockey game, it's hard not to absolutely love it. And then I learned that finding the intricacies, and once I figured out, what a face-off win looked like or what battles and kind of the actual game scheme itself, I'm like, oh, I could do that for a job. So at the age of 18, I said I'd work for the Minnesota Wild, and by the age of 28, I had made that dream come true. So it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. I'm always still learning, and I love interacting with fine folks like you as well, and getting to talk a little hockey anytime I can.
Yeah, good for you. Well, I'm proud of you. Way to go. Bravo. I hope we can do it again. Looking forward to your stuff. Thanks for the follow, and enjoy this Wild season. Jessi, we'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ron.
Jessi Pierce joining us from the beautiful state of Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.